Hi everyone, and welcome to Core ALM's SAP workshop on Solution Manager. Our workshop today will show you how to bring business and IT together with change request management in SAP Solution Manager. If this is your first time attending, we run these workshops for the SAP community, and if you are a regular, we're excited to have you back. I would love to add that we run these webinar workshops to give back to the SAP community, as that's part of our company's culture. As such, we make these workshops interactive with polls to get feedback and learn how we can make it better for future webinars. We will have a few polls throughout the webinar, so your participation is appreciated. In our last workshops, we explained the value of SAP Solution Manager and how it offers rich capabilities to support the entire lifecycle of your business and IT applications, and how you can easily fast-track your upgrade to version 7.2. If you would like a recording of those workshops, please feel free to reach out to us. All right, moving on to the agenda. We will do an intro about us and then a quick overview of Solution Manager 7.2 for those new to the platform. Then we will proceed to our main topic on business processes, followed by a live demo. We will finish the workshop with a value proposition and a Q&A. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. You can submit questions to us by typing them into the questions pane in the control panel on the GoToWebinars interface. On to a little bit about us. We are a dedicated team of experts focused on digital transformation lifecycle within the SAP ecosystem and have a strong team of former SAP Solution Manager practice leads. We are recognized leaders with a proven track record to deliver ALM solutions and have been driving the adoption of SAP Solution Manager. We have worked with many SAP clients like Apple, Microsoft, Nike, Harley-Davidson, as well as many others, and we have been trusted by them to deliver results. Our main expertise is in digital transformation lifecycle and SAP Solution Manager. We cover all aspects of the Solution Manager platform, and here are some of the services and products that we offer. As you can see, we offer a holistic approach to the application lifecycle management and the complete functional capabilities of Solution Manager. We have the resources to deliver services in managing your application lifecycle, and with the push to HANA, we also help companies with HANA conversions and upgrades. And here's our awards and certifications. We are an SAP partner and SAP certified to run SAP implementations. So here's our first poll question. I was just wondering where you guys are in terms of your 7.2 upgrade. And just so you guys do know, the mainstream maintenance for 7.1 has ended, so it's important that you guys do that upgrade. All right, so I see that a lot of you guys have upgraded and some of you guys do plan to upgrade, so that's awesome. I'd finally like to introduce today's presenter. I have William Perez, a senior solution manager here at ALM, and an ALM practice lead, an experienced consultant with Core ALM. With that said, thank you again, and I'll now hand it over to William.
Thanks, Shannon. Thanks. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, whatever you are. So my name is William Perez. I'm a senior ALM consultant with Core ALM. I'm primarily focused on change control management area, ITSM, Charm, and all the QGM, all these different tools that you use today, or you can use any solution managers to manage your changes, right? So we're gonna go over, Shannon already showed a little bit of the agenda, but pretty much our goal today of the webinar is to give you some understanding how the requirements, all the way to deploy works in Solution Manager 7.2, right? SAP has innovated and enhanced 7.2 to be more integrated. So we had a gap in 7.1 to collect requirements. So SAP has now brought that new piece in place. We made the process more complete, so we actually have more traceability and visibility of your process from requirements to deploy. So I'm going to show you some slides so we can review some of the overall capabilities, how it looks, how it works. Then you understand the overall process and workflows. Review some of the capabilities of the change management charm. So what charm can offer you with the whole process, some of the main benefits and features. Then I will jump on our life system. I would like to show you how the forms and workflow works and some of the main features that I think is very beneficial. And so then at the end, we're going to open for some questions. Okay. So first of all, as you know, any corporation that runs SAP, it's very challenging to manage all the changes, all the innovations. So there's always something new coming up, or you already have SAP running, you already have non-SAP projects running. How to keep all these things running and also innovating, monitoring, and having control of that, right? And control of that in one place. So you don't have a bunch of tools, like 5 different tools managing all this environment. So it's very difficult today to manage all these different things into one place. So Solution Manager, that's where Solution Manager is meant for, to manage your IT environment from one central place. So then you can have a better control of your innovations, your business requirements, your monitoring your existing environments. You know what I mean? How do we do that? So this is just a slide that gives you that. We have your management team trying to achieve all these things together. So there's 4 kind of main areas when it comes, like exactly what I was saying, right? Any SAP corporation, any SAP customer out there is trying to do something, is trying to innovate, is trying to keep their environment running, right? The best, trying to minimize downtime, issues, problems, your base team, your management team, everybody working together to make as much possible your environment stable and controlling your change to be deployed, your releases, everything that's happening in a proper manner way, so you reduce downtime, any risks. So Solution Manager offered the key value scenarios. As you can look at my screen, there's the project to portfolio. So there's pretty much every release, every change process that's happening there is going to be, you have to have a project. It's either in Excel sheet or can in Microsoft project or somewhere else. You must have somewhere to manage that project, right? So Solution Manager have this tool which allows you to integrate it way to manage your projects. Like you have a project, you initiate that project with Solution Manager. That project will be integrated with the rest of your tools. Like a project will then eventually collect a requirement. That requirement will turn into a change, and that change will be deployed. So that's called project portfolio. Then you have a requirement to deploy. That's where you collect the innovation, your new business requirement, and you start from creating that document, collect that information, linking that to your documentation. Then you go through the phases, right? You do the demand, design, development, test, and deploy. That's where charm comes in place. Charm comes into the development, test, and deploy phase. And all these things are interconnected. Then you have defect correct, right? The defect correct can be something that you have a monitoring piece to enable in your environment, and you have an issue, like something stopped working. How do I initiate a ticket? So Solution Manager also supports that. I can initiate an instance. From that instance, can be a printer issue or can be an SAP program issue, then can turn into a problem, and that can turn into a correction. Or even in charm, right? You are doing a project, you're in the test phase, you find an issue during your testing phase, and you have to fix it. How do you fix that? So you do that through a defect correction process. And also you have to request to fulfill. So if you want to use the instant management to manage different services in your corporation, like I'm setting up a new person in my corporation, what are the items that I need to do? You can leverage ITSM from Solution Manager to do any kind of search catalog. You can create service in Solution Manager, and you can request those services and go through a workflow and approvals to achieve that. So it's Solution Manager is very complete tool, and the advantage of Solution Manager over the other tools out there is because everything is integrated. Okay, so like this slide, so everything that I explained to you before is here, gives you an idea of how they are interconnected or they're integrated. So as you can see, those 4 areas, those 4 key values, and how you see the different areas that we Core ALM, this is Solution Manager, right? We offer beyond Solution Manager services, but as part of the Solution Manager main tools and services, you can see process management, test suite, project management, business operation, application operations, and here we go, and goes on with a bunch of different services and how they can be connected with each other. Okay, so you'll see a little bit more when I go to the system, and you can see the linkage between one process or one document to another. Then it's going to make more clear what I'm explaining today. So as I was saying previously, every SAP company that runs SAP today, they have changes happening, right? So changes happen every day, every time. And those changes are for different reasons. You have a bug and fix in your production environment, or you have a minor release that you need to do, like a new report or a new code that's changing, a change that's minor, right? It doesn't require like 6 months of time frame for you to deploy. And you have your major release that can be an enhancement package, or it can be a new company code, or you can be an S4 project, right? Something more that's going to take a long time. So every customer will find those 3 types of changes in their environment today. How do you manage them today? Do you have any change control management tool in place? Do you do that do you have a tool? Yes, no. Do you do that by controlling emails, spreadsheets? Do you have an instant management tool? But how do you trace that from all the way from the beginning and to deploy? Do you have one source of truth for looking at it, managing that, right? Control of that. So that's where Solution Manager requirements to deploy is the key tool out there for you to do that. You know what I mean? And just reminding you, if every customer has a Solution Manager, right, installed, so you don't need to pay license for you to use this. You already have the product there. You just need to configure and enable that. It's such a valuable tool that not everyone has an understanding how powerful and how good this tool is. When we talk about requirements management to deploy, so here's where it comes the good piece that SAP has introduced in 7.2. Before, how do you collect your requirements today, right? So you have a Word document, or you have an email, or you have your instant management system, which is not in Solution Manager. So business comes with a new idea or innovation. So, and where do you place that information? How do you type that to your solution documentation? So you may do that, but it's not all integrated. It's all over the place. With Solution Manager, as you can see here on the green part, that's where the source, the input. How would you initiate a requirements piece? So you could initiate via incident or a problem, and which is fine, right? If you're using Solution Manager, you can use incident management, but most likely the customers today, where we've seen, they don't have that part. They don't initiate things from Solution Manager. They initiate from a different tool. Then they have a gap, and they will then jump into Charm. So there is a disconnect there. So now with requirements management, SAP made available these requirements to deploy process, where you can initiate a document called business requirement, where you put all the information as far as that request comes in. It's like, we're creating a new department, or we're creating a new product. So this is an idea that's a new requirement. That new requirement will be collected from a business requirement document. Then they will have a kind of a engagement with the IT department through another change document. So imagine this is a flow. My business has an idea, initiate a document. Then it goes to my IT department. They evaluate that idea and see if it's feasible and if they have budget. So then that idea is approved, then it goes into change management, which is Charm, and they will start developing it, they will test it and deploy it. So that's where the requirements to deploy from 7.2 idea came from. You could have done that from instant management, but the instant management before, they didn't have the proper way or linkage to solution documentation, or some of the fields were not so much requirements. Now they made it specific for requirements. So it's a designed solution that you can fulfill all the fields and the tools inside of the document for the requirements management. Okay. I'm just gonna go through this as user story so you understand. I just explained to you that the business has an idea, that idea will turn into, that will talk to IT department, IT department will evaluate that idea. If it's feasible, then we'll put into development. So this gives an idea how Solution Manager was designed out of the box as far as the workflow. I'm just gonna go to show you that here. Then we can, later on when I jump on the document, you will see the same workflow through the different documents, okay? So the first of all here, you have your business process experts that will define a business requirement. That business requirement will go to the business manager, and then the business manager will do the validation, will approve it or reject it, and then hand it over to IT. So those are different workflow steps. And what's very good, and I'm sure you guys already use Solution Manager and Charm. So as you have workflows, we can, those workflows have approvals. So there's different roles, right? That certain people can define something, certain people will approve and review certain things, and then some people will pass it on to a different department. So there's a bunch of different roles and controls in Solution Manager that makes it very safe to, and that's where you can distribute and delegate different responsibilities, and all the different people that will be involved during this process. Solution Manager will keep track of it in logs and traces. You have a bunch of different elements in Solution Manager that will make it traceable and very clear when it comes to auditing. It's okay, your audit team wants to know who initiated this document, who approved this document, and who started working on this transport, and when that was done, and how many people got involved in this process. Everything is going to be traced and logged in the change documents, and then all the documents, and I'll show you that later. So when it comes, then the business manager will approve it and hand it over to IT, and then IT will evaluate that and say, okay, that's cool, we have money, we have time, we understand this is a need. Then they both will commit with each other, and then they will send to development, which comes into the Charm piece. And then that will eventually create a change document type, which we'll talk in a couple minutes. And that change document type will go through a testing phase and then eventually get deployed in production. Okay, so we have a poll question right now, and that's, do you have a change management strategy? So you're gonna have a pop-up on your screen, and I appreciate your answer. Okay, well, that's good. The majority of you do. Some of you know, and maybe that's fine. So a lot of customers out there, you know what I mean? When you go, we have done several implementations of the change control management or Charm in many customers, and they sometimes they have it, but they don't have the proper tool in place. It's very difficult to make sure you have a proper deployment or release management. Make sure your release goes all the way from development to production in a control manner way, not introducing risk. How do I have visibility? What's being tested? What's not being tested? How much changes are going to? Is everything being approved? So that's where the change control management from Solution Manager gives you all that control and help you to embrace that, right, in one source of truth. So when we talk about change control management, so I'm going to talk now, I'm going to give a quick overview of the change control management. So the change control management area of Solution Manager is composed by several elements. Charm is one of them, right? So if you look at the puzzles here, so Charm is the one here, right below release management. So we're going to go quickly through each one so you understand all the different benefits that you can get out of the change control management. So the first thing that's very cool with 7.2, we had it in 7.1, was okay. 7.2 now, there's the very nice KPIs and dashboards that you can set up to have a quick understanding how your environment looks like, as far as how many changes are deployed in production as in this time frame, how many urgent changes was created in the last week. what is my, how many things are still in development, or the percentage of change that has happened in the last month. So you can create a different tiles and different KPIs to search for specific data, which is very good for you to create that one central place. You click there, your management, your change management team wants to see how far behind are we, you know what I mean? How many chains are still open? How many chains got into production with errors? So that's really cool. And the interface also looks much nicer. And another thing that we got in 7.2 is that there's a one tile called administration cockpit area, where SAP consolidated all these different transactions for you to manage and administrate your charm piece. Where there's one specific element there called transport analysis, and then project analysis, where when you create a release, that particular piece will give a very nice understanding where your releases are and how many changes are. So sometimes all this analysis has to be done manually by basis, by going to every single environment and extract that into a spreadsheet, filtering, and it's a lot of work. You know what I mean? It's very time demanding. It's just not fun. So with 7.2, you just buy one interface, you put your release number, and Charm is gonna tell you. You have 150 transports. There's 15 development. There's 30 in QA, and there's, you know what I mean, a 70 in production. So, and that gives you that type of visibility. So like in a minute, you can see that. And that you can monitor much more than that. You can do analysis by transports, by releases, and all that stuff. So it made it much easier for you that's deploying the releases or managing the releases to understand what's going on with your change management, okay? This is another slide that gives you a little bit more details of the KPIs, the dashboards that it gives you in 7.2. And this is all, you can create different types of KPIs and dashboards based on your needs. It's pretty much you create your own query and search for your own data. So another thing that I think if you do run Charm today, I'm sure you are familiar with that. Who hasn't done Charm or it's getting familiar now with Charm? So one piece that's very important in Charm is the retrofit, right? So if you have a N+1 landscape, you have a maintenance landscape, you have a project landscape, how do you make sure that change that you're initiating on your maintenance lane is replicated in your project lane, right? So if you don't have Charm, if you may have other two that does that, great. But if you don't have Charm, what basically you have to dual maintain. There's a lot of work. You have to put the code in one lane, then you have to replicate the code in another in the other system upstream, which that means that it's dual work for the developer, right? So you spend twice of the time doing that. With Charm, so you can automate over 90% of the change that you initiate on your maintenance lane. You can automate that retrofit back to your project lane, which means a lot of time that you're going to reduce doing dual maintenance. So Charm automatically calculates any risks as you do the retrofit. It will know if that object already exists there in the project lane that's still modifiable, and it will give you all the warnings and stop if it's necessary. So there's a lot of benefit with retrofit, but at the end of the day, we're talking about money and time and efficiency, right? Which this is a great feature. Then when it comes to change request management, so Charm supports all the different types of systems out there. So it's just an example. So we support SAP products and non-SAP products. There's a CTS Plus, which is the next slide. So, but you can see here, there's ERP, Java, PI, BW, .NET, Portal, SCM, and as SAP goes on, we just see the supportability just increasing. And that's the great thing about SAP. You know, it's a huge company that put a lot of investment. As new products come to the market, SAP is already a step ahead of us, planning to make it available, or it's going to make available in the next support packages for Charm. So Charm supports most of all the SAP all SAP projects for sure, plus a bunch of the non-SAP products out there. Okay. So when we talk about Charm, I'm just gonna this slide has a lot of information, but I'm gonna go very high level on each of those features. So Charm is the tool for you to manage your change, right, in a proper controlled way. So that way you have traceability, visibility, and control and approvals. So that's the Charm tool, is change request management. So some of the features that Charm can offer is the cross-system object locking. So in case you have multiple projects, multiple lanes, how do you enforce, or how do you make sure people are not stepping on each other? How do you enforce people are not overwriting each other's code? That's what it is for. And retrofit, I just talked to you. It's all about how much time do you put dual maintain your systems if you don't have retrofit. It can be time, right? It's time, it's money, and it's risk. So that's what retrofit is for. Downgrade protection. That's one of the features that Charm gives to you. So to make sure it's sequence. So it's very common when you're deploying things. How do you make sure you're in the proper sequence? Or how do I get a monitor or visibility when I'm doing something that's not in agreement with SAP best practices, or I'm trying to do something that's out of sequence? How do I get notified? Or if you don't have Charm, you get notified when you find an error in QA. So with Charm, you get notified prior to that. So critical objects. So for some corporations, you have certain objects that are very critical, and you wanna make sure that if anybody touch that object, you wanna be warned, and you wanna have an extra level of approval because something is very sensitive. And if somebody touches that object, I wanna go and get exposed to that, and I wanna go through an approval process for that. Status driven, Charm, all the Charm documents, or they all sit in different status, which you can customize as needed. And that what that does to you. So I want only my change to go to production when they reach certain status in the workflow. So that's what it does. So basically you define which status is allowed to go in which environment. And the reporting tracking that I mentioned before, it's pretty cool in 7.2, and it definitely helps you a lot. Transfer of copies is a feature that SAP has it enabled in one of the change types. And the idea is just you reduce the amount of change going to production, because as you're in QA, you're testing things, you wanna fix those errors and issues that you encounter. So by doing that, you're just gonna create some minor fixes by doing tasks, and those tasks will create transfer of copies, moving constantly into your QA environment until you're done with that fix or that development. Then when you decide to go to production, it will make like all this transfer of copies into one main transfer and go to production. So there's benefits. It's faster and easier to fix things in QA, and the amount of time you're gonna take now to deploy things in production is less, because you're gonna have just the main transfer going, not all the transfer of copies that you created. So it's very cool. It definitely has lots of benefits. And as I was mentioning before, CTS Plus is for customers that wants to integrate the non-ABAP systems or non-SAP systems into Solution Manager. That way you can also manage your chains for those type of environments or systems. This is the overall summary of the functionalities that Solution Manager gives to you, right? So we talked about transfer of copies, CTS Plus, downgrade protection, retrofit, critical. This is just a kind of the main ones. Of course, there's a bunch of more features and functionalities that are beneficial, but it's just kind of a quick review of what we just talked. So when you implement Charm, there's few transaction types, or those are the standard transaction types. There's one more that's not listed here, which is called standard type. But out of the box, when you implement Charm, there's normal change type, urgent change, admin, general change. So basically, all these different types of change to fulfill a different type of change, right? So if you have a change that's not critical, and it's part of your kind of a release or a project that goes weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly, it's going to be a normal type of change. So you're going to create that change type, which it's a form. We're going to look at the system. And if it's your production is down and you need to fix something immediately with less approvals, a quicker, faster path to production, then you need to share the urgent change. Then if you just want to document the process, let's imagine you want to have a system in your company which is not, you know what I mean, you just want to have a way to control it and document that. Then you use an admin change or a general change for that. And so you want to control your something. I need a new printer. I want to control a setup of a new server through Charm. That's fine. You can also leverage some of the general change or the admin change for that. And defect correction is something that you use during your testing phase to fix issues, and it's just another document type, but it can only be created during your test modes. So those are the 5. There's a 6.1, which is a standard type SAP has introduced in SP6, a standard type that's basically for you. Let's imagine you have 50 type of objects. Let's imagine you have a list of 50 type of objects in your environment that they are okay to move to production without that level of approval or granular approval, right? You don't need to go to a CAB review to get those deployed into production, because they're like minor changes or pre-approved changes, basis type of changes that can go to production faster. So SAP created this standard type, which you maintain your pre-approved list of objects. And then when you create your change document and then your transport, then you're going to try to modify that object, and that object will go and check in the solution manager, is this an object that's pre-approved? If it's yes, it will let save you, and then you got a shorter flow to get to production. And there's other benefits too, but that's pretty much the idea of the standard change. Allow you to promote things to production faster for the objects that you already defined as pre-approved, okay? And it's not listed here, but I'll update this slide here because this is still from SP5. So as we talk about change documents are the placeholder for your transfers, right? You can create a change document, like I said, a normal change, an urgent change, an admin change, but those, you know what I mean? And basically those will be sitting in buckets. So SAP Charm has different buckets for different purpose. So those are called cycles, right? You have a continuous cycle, a phase-driven cycle, and a release management cycle. So the continuous cycles are for emergency change that you need to do very quickly in production, doesn't have gates, right? So that's not for a project. It's for very quick deployments that doesn't require gates. When I talk about gates, I mean your bucket has scope, build, test, go live, and complete. Those are gates. So for continuous cycles, we don't have gates. It's just an active cycle that is receiving constantly changes. Then you can use that for emergence changes. So then you have phase-driven deployment, where you say, okay, we're gonna create I have a release that's gonna go in September 2018, and I want to control that by gates. Now I'm in scope phase, then I want to go into build phase. I want to hold all the change documents here, and then I want to eventually move to tasks, make sure people only tasks, no more change will come in. If they find issues, then defect correction will come in. That's the phase driven. And then you have release management. That's another type of change cycle for releases. So it's pretty much a cycle that's associated to a calendar where you can organize your minor major releases. And it also has phases, but it's similar to phase-driven deployment, but that's more, it's definitely specific for release cycles. Like if you have a release enhancement package or support package, that you have a release calendar, then you can go and use release management to predefine those releases and organize those with the release management tool, okay? So as was mentioned before, one of the major features of not the major features, but the very cool features that customers like to have, because it's important to know who has interacted, who did what, and when it was done. How do I get all this information, you know what I mean? So the detail logs and change history keeps that in all the documents, from the requirements all the way to deploy. You will have this information stored in Solution Manager. If you ever need to know why this is approved, why this went to production, who did it, when it was done, who moved the status to this status, Charm requirements management will keep history of that, okay? So that's change control. And then the next piece and the last one before we jump in the system is the release management that I was telling you guys. Release Manager is an extra module where it's a new piece introducing 7.2. Used to exist in 7.1, but it was a separate configuration. Now it's embedded in 7.2. So pretty much you get all your changes. So you have a release that's pre-planned and already in your release calendar. You create all these minor and major releases in your Solution Manager, and then Charm is integrated with that. So as you initiate a new change, I say, okay, this is going to release major release 1.1 that's related to this major project. It could be enhancement patch, or it could be a major release that's pre-planned. That's gonna bundle everything and then do the join of deployment. It's similar to the normal change, but the idea is to leverage the calendar to help organize that. Okay. So then you have here the different phases, and the calendar will give a visibility on how many releases you have, what's happening, when is the go live for each release, or the different gates and all that stuff. And the last one here is the IT calendar. As you use Charm or release management, those things are integrating the calendar. So if imagine you have a calendar, and that calendar, as you have scheduled deployments for a change document or for a release, that will be shown in a calendar. So hey, let me see how many changes are happening in this month. I want to see what's going on this time, that because I don't want anything to go in here. Okay, we have 2 changes, so we have to move the changes. So that gives you one central place view for you to evaluate what's going on in that month or that week, and make sure you don't have anything that's risky. But it's just a calendar that's integrated to your change documents. Okay, I'm gonna jump into the system, show you quickly how the documents look. It's not gonna be a detailed step-by-step demo. If you desire for that very detailed demo, you can always contact us back, and then we can schedule one-to-one demo, okay? Let me go to my system. Okay, so let me just close here very quickly. I have already my Solution Manager open. I'm just gonna log in again because it timed out as I was validating the system before. And let me do it here. Okay, so I'm in Solution Manager 7.2, and I'm gonna launch the T code called SM_Work Center. That's pretty much it's gonna launch your Fiori Launchpad, which concentrates all the different tools from Solution Manager, all the different areas like task management, change management, data volume management, all the business process, and all the different areas that we saw on the different slides. There are you can customize those styles in different areas from the GUI here, the Fiori Launchpad. So I have everything on my screen because I have authorization. This is controlled by security, right? So as you can see, all the different areas that it can load on your Fiori Launchpad, and this is customizable. So the one area I want to go is change control management. So as you can see, there's few tiles here. There's change release management, administration cockpit, the analytics, quality gate management, license management, system recommendations. The ones we're going to look today in a high level is the change release management. I'll also try to show you the administration cockpit area, so because there's something cool with the reporting there. So as you need to imagine, you need to initiate a new business requirement, right? Where do you go? How it looks? So let me give you some quick look at that. So you click on the release management tile. That's gonna launch you the ITSM framework for change, which holds the requirements management, change release management. So as you can see here on the left menu here, there's requirements management, change request manager, ITSM, and service operations. So the one that I want to show you and is the requirements management, because we've been talking about requirements to deploy, right? So I'm gonna search for a business requirement here. The one that I already created. I want to show you how the linkage from one document happens to another, and some of the areas that we went through, and it's like, okay, oh, this is cool. That's how it logs, that's how it looks. So you guys understand the sequencing and the linkage between one document and another. Let me see here. I created one. Let's see here. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, so I'm gonna open this business requirement here that I created a maybe a month ago. So, but pretty much when you create a new business, you're creating this document, right? So look at this document on my screen. So this is a document. This is a business requirement document. So on the top, the first thing you have is the status of review. Those are all the status as you initiate the document, move forward, people review it, approve it, enter data, document data, and all this stuff. You move through the workflow. Different roles are involved. Different people will be notified, and then going through the approvals and all that stuff. So that's where you know where your document's sitting at, right? And I'm going to show you how this document, you move through this document back and forth. There's basically a general area where you put your general data here, all who is the description, some of the different roles, and this is all customizable. Right now you're seeing the standard screen with the standard fields. We can always adjust that as needed with renaming fields, adding new fields, change things like that nature, or making it more cleaner, or adding new things that's required for a corporation. So as you can see, scroll down here, there's a text area where you can end text and all that stuff. And those areas here, those blocks that you can see, it's called assignment blocks. That's where you can store, no, it's not that what I'm saying. That's not where you can store. That's where you can check the different elements of the change document. So I'm going to talk about a few ones here. Attachments, you can assign attachments or links if you need to when you're creating a requirement. Solution documentation, in case you need to link your solution documentation to this business requirement. Imagine you have your blueprint done, the solution documentation looks good and all that fine, and the new requirement you're defining, it's a new document that you have uploaded in your solution documentation. Then you can link that solution documentation to your business requirement, which you make reference. So here's an example of some business process, business steps that are linked, scenarios or steps that are linked to this. And then also transaction history. We were talking about the logs and all that stuff. Everything that happens here actually is in change history. It keeps logs of that. So as you can see here, it shows who did it and what time and everything else. Also, as you can see, the processing log. The processing logs is a bunch of different logs that you can check on your document that also keep and store that in a document. So you want to go back saying who committed this, who approved this, when was done, who changed this value to this value. So those are very good for you to have traceability and visibility of what's happening in the life of this document. And also you have parties involved who interact with this document, what are the people that are involved in this particular process. So as you create this document, right, you have define, submit for validation, being checked, handed over to IT. As I showed you earlier, you initiate a business requirement. Eventually, that business requirement will talk to IT department. That's called a follow-up document. As this document's already in the further stage, so how do I know, where do I check the linkage, right? So as I scroll down here to my document, because this document's in a little bit more advanced stage, I go to related transactions. My related transactions shows all my follow-up documents. I'm in the business requirement document. This document's already in accepted stage. That means this already went to IT. IT reviewed that document and committed to me. So this business requirement, in order for me to go check the IT requirement that's a follow-up of this document, then I come to related transactions and click here. By clicking here, I'm now in the IT requirements document. So as you can see, IT requirements on top of my screen, that also has a workflow, okay? And right now, it went to submitted for approval, postponed, approved, and submitted for implementation. It's implement. And I was showing you earlier, so you have your business requirement, it committed to IT requirement. The next thing that happens, then your IT requirement will your IT department will evaluate that requirement and then submit for implementation. So everything, the flow works going forward as a follow-up document. So this is a follow-up document for my business requirement. What's my next follow-up document? It's my charm document. So as you scroll down here, the same type of structure, right? You have your general data, a bunch of information here for you to identify. When you go to the related transactions and scroll down here, you can see my business requirement, because if I want to go back to my business requirement and investigate something, that's fine. You buy here, you click here and go back. And also you see there's two other documents listed here. So yes, this is my charm documents, because when I send it to the implementation, I had defined that I would need two change documents. And by doing that and set this document to implement, it automatically created two follow-up documents, an urgent change and a normal change. So if I open my normal change, then will show me the workflow for charm. So now I'm in the charm document. So this charm document will go through these phases. So it's now created, eventually I'll set in development, create my transports, move into QA, test it, get all the approvals necessary, the right people will be notified. Then when I'm ready to move this to production, I'll authorize this to production, import into production, and the process is complete. So the linkage happens from, so now that's where the business requirements to deploy. So start as a business, follow up as an IT requirement, create a charm document. So I'm now in the charm document. I'm going to go through this process of creating a change, testing a change, completing a change, and everything is stored in the logs. And then as I showed you before, and all the different tools that I showed, the CSOL lock, downgrade protection, the crossing object locking, the ATC. So if you want to use a above task cockpit, the code inspector can also be integrated through charm. When you're moving things from dev to QA, how do I make sure my code it's in good quality, or it has the defined best practice for coding? If the code has no syntax error, I want my charm not to let me move anything to my QA environment that has issues. So it's also integrated with the code inspector. So the critical object that I mentioned before, downgrade protection. So that's all integrated in the change documents. As you move things through the workflow, the transfer related checks will check that, okay? Along with that, the related transaction, I'm just gonna show you again, it keeps track of all the follow-up documents. So it shows that my IT requirement, it's in implement right now, okay? And then if I click here, that will send me to the IT requirement, and my IT requirement will list my business requirement. So they all go back and forth. That's how we trace it. One more thing I want to show you. So that gives an idea how the forms and the fields, like how the structure, the linkage, the workflow looks like. One thing I want to show you here is I'm going to go back to the DBA cockpit for a couple minutes. So as you go to the administration cockpit area, so this is really nice. So if you wanna, before in 7 was very painful to manage all the different activities that, how do initiating a task list or releasing transports, understanding logs, issues, monitoring all the things that are happening in your charm environment and your change environment, also the different cycles, the different releases, all these things. So SAP consolidated that in one UI called the Change Control Management Administration Cockpit. So here you have all the different cycles that you created. For different cycles, you can access your task list. The task list is a set of different actions that the release can perform, or the change documents can perform. And then from here, you can execute certain things, do the cutover into your environments from one central place. You don't need to execute a T code for that. There's a bunch of other things here that are very helpful, but one thing that I want to show in particular is the transfer analysis. And that's where you can actually do analysis of your, I want to know for the cycle, my release that's going in April, I want to know if everything there is being released, or people still have to release the transports. Is there anything that has been imported? Yes. How many are they imported, in which environments, and all that stuff. So I'm not sure if I have a data here that I could show you, but it gives us that type of visibility. Let me see here if I can show you something. Let me see here. Let me get this guy here, phase cycle. Okay. Then if you click here and select a cycle, for example, change cycle or release, by selecting that and click analyze, it should give you a screen. So this is an example, okay? But of course, your environment's much more, there's much more activity going on. But it tells you the system, how many open transfers you have, how many release transfers, what's waiting for report, what's being imported, and how many errors, how many sequence violation, misimports. So this type of analysis you have to do, if you don't have charm, you've got to run through basis. or any department that's responsible to make sure, hey, can you check how many transfers in the environment? How many has been imported? Do we have errors? Do we have sequence violation? How do I check that in a minute, right? So that's how we do it. So there's much more that the charm can offer you. This is just a kind of a very quick high-level review. I hope that was beneficial for you guys to get a little bit more familiar. I'm gonna stop here. So if you need a specific demo for a specific need or a particular thing you're looking for, reach out to us and I'll be happy to have a one-to-one demo with you. Thank you. Shannon, Ivan, back to you.
All right, thank you, William. Yep, sorry, that's stray speaker on there. So thanks, William. So now we're going to begin answering the questions submitted during today's presentation. As a reminder, you can still submit questions through the questions pane in your attendee control panel. So we're going to do this slightly different this time because we actually had a question from one of the attendees that's present right now. He did ask a question that we reach out to you prior to the webinar. So let me bring it up. So he's asking if they are a utility company or utility operations company. So he's like saying that how we could relate charm to ISU or utility operations. So William, do you have anything to add on to that, like how charm can help a utility company?
Yeah, so thanks for the question, Ivan. Yeah, so here's the thing. Charm is not necessarily designed for a specific industry. So if you're a utility company or an IT or the food, health, or any type of industry out there, Charm was designed for everyone, for any type of industry out there. I'm sure Charm can help you. You know what I mean? It's a change control management tool. And you know what I mean? We can always design the Charm to be more toward how you do change management process today. It's not a tool that you have to consume out of the box the way it is, and it's for any industry out there. Of course, there's specific industries that requirements a little bit more kind of say validation, which is also fine. You know what I mean? SAP designed the solution manager and Charm to be adjustable or flexible to anyone out there.
Okay, hope that answers your question. If you have an add-on to that, William is around here, so we can follow up on that question. Right now, I have a question from Kartik. So how quick can I get requirements management and Charm implemented in my solution manager?
Well, we have a product that QUICKPOLL offers called Jumpstart, right? So if you want to just kind of get your hands on Charm and start having, well, get exposed, right? Let's imagine that, hey, I want to have this requirements management working in a minor scope, so I see and I feel, and then I can justify this is a powerful tool for managing a larger scope. We can, as little as 4 weeks, we can get that up and running. Of course, it depends on some evaluation how your solution manager looks like, if you want to consume it as out of the box. But if you do, so we have a product called Jumpstart that can be as little as 4 weeks, but it requires some evaluation before we can really say, yeah, it's on 4 weeks, because every customer is different, right?
Right, that makes sense. If you have a follow-up question, feel free to ask. Again, if you have a question that you want to ask, you can ask it in the questions pane. Having a question here from Larry. I'm on 7.1. How much effort is required to upgrade 7.2? I assume this will be related to Charm and not just an upgrade question. Yes, sorry, he replied, yes, this is a question that's asking about Charm. So, yeah.
Yeah, so here's the thing. In order for you to upgrade for 7.2, of course, you're gonna have to do the technical upgrade, right? So that's one thing that has to happen. Prior to the upgrade, there's few things that we must do. If you look, there's some SAP notes out there that gives you some guidance, like some evaluation of your project or things that you have running right now in 7.1. Things will change in 7.2, okay? So pretty much you need to evaluate all the releases and projects that you have in 7.1. You can do a pre-content activation, which pretty much You define which projects you're gonna take over to 7.2, kind of a filter. Those are the projects I want to take to 7.2. So you kind of go through that list and predefine that. It's not mandatory for you to do that prior to 7.2 upgrade. You can always do that in 7.2, but the only difference if you do that 7.2, you end up bringing everything instead of being more selective. When you go to, that's one thing, do an analysis of your 7.1 charm projects and overall how many chains you have and everything else. Then you do the technical upgrade. And after the technical upgrade, there's some work that has to be done because the framework and the infrastructure will change, which requires some level of reconfiguration. Because if you try to just go on your own and upgrade to 7.2, which we had few customers coming back to us, hey, I decided to upgrade on my own, and my solution manager, now my charm stopped working, right? Yes, it will stop working because there's other things you have to do, which require some level of expertise on change management, which is making sure your transaction types will be adjusted to 7.2. Your change cycles were converted, the new infrastructure is matching your environments, your transfer management, your transfer routes, and everything else. So there's some level of post work which can take from 1 week, usually 1 to 2 weeks effort, depends how customized your environment is, to make your charm up and running again. That's what we have noticed on the several customers that came to us that did this process.
Okay, hope that answers your question. Let us know if you have a follow-up, Larry. I have a question here from Nathan. Do you offer senior management education on greenfield implementation? The technical operations side understands the value and benefits, but the management buy-in, I think this is more for delivery question, not William question.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll take this offline. See, I have another question here from Pranay. Can we use single sign-on for business users? And I assume this is for charm.
Well, yeah, single sign-on is, well, not necessary for charm, right? Single sign-on is supported in Solution Manager, right? You can enable single sign-on. We have a lot of customers that do single sign-on. Yes, we can. It's just it's part of the Solution Manager configuration, and most of our customers do single sign-on. Mm-hmm.
Okay, hope that answers your question, Pranay. I have a question here from Ruth. We do not have planned releases. We implement changes continuously for multiple projects running in parallel but staggered. Can Charm handle that?
Yes. So we, like I said, Charm can be designed in many different ways to achieve if you have an agile methodology, or if you have a waterfall methodology, or you have like sprints, right? You have multiple sprints or things like every customer is different, right? So we can always design the Charm deployment or the way we run the process through Charm to fulfill your requirements, right? So SAP has its own best practice. Doesn't mean it's the best practice for you? No, every customer has your own way to do it, and we got to evaluate your process, maybe enhance that, and we can adapt that into Charm. But yes, a Charm supports your. I guarantee you, you know what I mean? I've seen different customers, different deployments, different processes out there. I guarantee we can fit your process into Charm.
Okay, hope that answers your question, Ruth. So I have a follow-up question here from Larry. So what would be the challenges from migrating my change management from 7.1 to 7.2?
Yeah, it's going back to the same question. So like I said, I think your challenge will be, well, the pre-evaluation, make sure you run the SAP node for evaluating your existing projects and all that stuff. So you take the proper actions if you want to filter and be more selective on what you want to have active in 7.2. But what's the technical upgrade is a technical upgrade, right? So there's no secret there. You've got to run through it and make it happen. So after the technical upgrades, there's some work which I would not recommend you do on your own unless you're an expert in Charm or you have a very strong skill set in-house that can run that. But pretty much the challenge comes afterwards, because few things will be not working. Things will stop working because new security was introduced, new interface were introduced, new framework was introduced. So you need some expertise to re-educate you and re-enable your Charm environment. And like I said, it can take from 1 week to 2 weeks. It depends on the complexity of your charm configuration.
Okay, hope that answers your question, Larry. If you have any further questions, we can reach out to you offline. So I do see some more questions that are being asked. Sadly, it's we're on the top of the hour right now, and I have to end the webinar. So for those questions, we will just be in touch with you in emails. And as William mentioned, we do offer individual demos. So if you would like an individual demo of a certain topic that that we offer, you can just use this form to fill it up. So I'm just going to end the webinar right here. So thank you, William, and thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. We really appreciate your presence, and you can view our next webinar at corealm.com/webinars. It's going to be a testing webinar. So we do have a blog too that's a lot of content there, and William just recently posted 2 blogs on change management and QGM, things that he mentioned today. So if you need more resources, we do have the blog that you can visit. So again, we really appreciate your presence here today, and if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact us. So you also will receive a follow-up email to get feedback on our workshops and see how we can improve. So thank you, everyone, and on behalf of Core AM, thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Bye.